Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Boozer here. Today's video I want to go over one of the most pressing questions that I think everyone that has been burned by previous fusions are going over in their mind right now, and that is, will I be able to complete the upcoming fusion? Do I have enough shards? Do I have enough resources? What resources will we need? What can I expect? So I'm hoping in this video to go over all of these questions and give you my best guess and my best advice on how you can obtain the next fusion, Emic Trunkheart, which is actually a really good Void legendary champion, and I definitely recommend you guys put your best effort into getting him. So let's get right into it. Alright guys, welcome back. So I've put together this spreadsheet for everybody just to have a visual. And basically I took the old nut fusion that we just had, which is what I consider to be the hardest fusion that we've had up to date in terms of overall resource investment. And the fact that it was a traditional fusion, which requires chickens and training and potions to ascend champions before feeding and fusing, and then additional silver that way. So it's definitely one of the hardest fusions we've ever had, if not the hardest. So I'm basing my predictions on that baseline. Also, I factored in a couple other details into making my predictions for the Emic Trunkheart fusion that's upcoming for August 3rd, which is Thursday. So you're probably seeing this video on Monday. And I want to give you guys as much heads up on what I would do or what I would prepare for to try to tackle this fusion the best that you can. So let's get right into it. So here we have the nut fusion. It was actually 11 days long. Basically, like on the 11th day, the last event would start. So it would end on the 13th or 14th day, which is about 3 days shorter than normal. There was something weird with the nut fusion. It started on a Monday as opposed to the regular Thursday or Friday, so it was a little bit strange. That resulted in the shortened fusion time. But for Emic Trunkheart, we are starting on the 3rd, which is a Thursday, which is the normal start time for fusions. So I expect the full 14 days until the last event, and then it's going to be an extra 2 days to finish off the fusion. So about 16 or 17 days to complete the entire fusion. I used the values from the nut fusion to estimate for the Emic fusion. So artifact enhancement, we're looking at probably 3 of them, 20 fragments each. We don't know what the epics will be, but we can expect from previous hybrid fusions that they might be 4 separate epics. 4 different epics, for possibly 4 separate potions or affinities that we need to collect. So make sure you guys are ready for that. I do have a table of resources here that we need. We need 16 4-star chickens, 12 superior pots, and 24 big pots of the whatever affinity that they are, likely one of each, but we are not sure. Okay, so I'm guessing there's 3 artifact enhancement events, roughly 60 million that's in total. Each one takes about 20 million to complete, so make sure you guys prepare for that. Of course, you guys have many weeks to prepare for this, and you guys will be getting silver along the way. Hopefully you have some silver to start the event. Okay, so dungeon divers, probably similar, 10,000 energy worth of 10,000 points worth of dungeon divers, which is approximately 15,000 energy, so give or take. Again, there's time, you can stack them up, but it's going to be a lot of energy over a lot of days, and it's likely to be 3 of them, 20 from each of the 20 fragments from each of the normal dungeon tournaments, and the normal values here about 2250 in terms of energy. So these ones are pretty straightforward. If you can do dungeon 20, these should be no issue. Dungeon 20 is the most efficient in terms of energy per points, so about 1 to 1. Keep that in mind when you guys are farming and managing your resources. Arena, we probably have 2 arenas, pretty standard by now, 390. They have raised it, I believe, within the last year, but 390 still seems reasonable. In terms of training, this is one of the parts where it could vary slightly. Based on the nut fusion, we had a shorter one and a longer one. that seems reasonable. So let's say we have a shorter one and a longer one, and we could get maybe 2 different thresholds of 20 for each. It could be 2 long ones, which might also be okay too, since we're also building our epics here as well. And then the big thing that we have to worry about for any fusion is shard management. So I recommend anyone that is low spender, no spender, definitely save your shards for key events. Don't jump into all events, especially if you want to try to complete these fusions. If you guys are not hitting Ultra Nightmare, it's hard to say. You want to pull during 2x to get a better chance at getting critical epics like Demitha, or just good epics in general for progression, but you really need to save some shards to handle these fusions because they are getting pretty expensive. So for Nut Fusion, we saw all-time highs for Chase and Rush points. 5,400, that's just under 11 Sacred's worth, and 3,200 for the Chase, which was also a record, very expensive. So for Emic, I expect something similar. However, there has been some possibly wild and baseless speculation that a second summon rush could replace the chase. I believe this is because the champ chase does fall on a 2x ancient, which is very efficient for the players, and this is something that Plarium might want to dissuade from happening. So they might, I'll show you guys the calendar that I put together, but there is a possibility that it could be 2 summon rushes, and if that is the case, I expect slightly reduced values. I'm hoping maximum 5,000, which is already a big increase, but it's possible that it could be like 4,500 each, which is 9,000, which is still super expensive, equivalent to 18 Sacred's worth of shards. Obviously, Chase is a lot easier to get points usually because you can save up fusions and fuse broad mauls, and stuff like that, but it's definitely very expensive. So if you guys are going in with single digit low sacred amounts, low sacreds, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to complete this fusion, especially if you don't have anything for chase, like past fusions that you can pull. It's going to be tough. Yes, you have time. You have about 3 weeks to acquire more sacreds or more shards, and if it is a chase and if it is the 2x ancients, then you guys are going to catch a break and be able to generate more points from ancient shards. But if you have to use ancient shards for summon rush, it's really inefficient and likely will be the end of your fusion. So this is what I'm going to say. I'll show you guys the calendar that I was working on, and we can play along with this. So this is the calendar I worked on. So when you guys see the video, it's going to be Monday. Let's make this a little bigger. Okay. So it will be Monday when you guys see this video. CVC will start the next day. Spider will be starting on this Monday. The fusion starts on Thursday. So when Spider ends, likely the dungeon that starts will be Ice Golem, because we just had Fire Knight, we just had Dragon, and then we would have just ended Spider. So Ice Golem is the obvious choice here. So Ice Golem is going to play on Thursday, most likely, and probably go till Sunday. Summon Rush will start on the end of Thursday, start of Friday, and extend into Monday. So on this first Summon Rush, I think we will know right away if we will get this 2 Summon Rushes, because based on the only instance where we've ever seen 2 Summon Rushes in a fusion was this fusion, Great Hoof Lureka. I know this fusion was not well regarded by anybody, so not a lot of people remember this champion, but everyone remembers the double Summon Rush and the 5-day artifact enhancement event, which was ridiculous. I didn't personally go for this fusion, so I actually passed on her. First one ever, actually. But you'll recall here, the Summon Rush starts on the Friday, similar to how we are starting it, and then the fusion ends with the Summon Rush. So this fusion in total was 18 days, so it was the longer fusion as opposed to the nut fusion, which is only 11 days, and normal fusions, which is only 14 days. It was longer to accommodate for this extra summon rush, but we can also might have a clue if we get the second summon rush based on the first summon rush, because for the Laraka fusion, the first summon rush, the top threshold was only 3,500, which is basically like kind of what Plarium always gave us, 3,500. And then for the second summon rush was also 3,500. So I believe that we will know if we have the second summon rush, which I put here. We will know if we have the second summon rush based on the first summon rush, and basically how bad the first summon rush is. If the first summon rush is 5,500, I would assume that there is no second summon rush. If the first summon rush is 4,000, I would assume there is a second summon rush, because like I said, the nut threshold for summon rush is 5,400. So I would expect Plarium to put like a single summon rush to be at least 5,000. So if it was 5,000 plus, I would expect, the usual summon rush plus champ chase and then call it a day. If they put a 4,000 summon rush, I would be extra cautious of a second summon rush showing up here at the end to make this an 18-day fusion basically. So just this purely speculation, guys, but it makes sense to me. And here I have the champ chase with the 2x ancients. This is something that gives us really good value. Like we could finish this champ's chase with like 30 ancients, and that's not even being like super lucky. And 50 ancients would probably be like the average. So you could finish this relatively easily. So yeah. So that's the big question that everyone is thinking about: the champ chase or the second summon rush, and then another summon rush. I would expect to basically spend anywhere from 16 to 20 sacreds worth of shards for both these events. And then if you guys don't have that, you guys need a mix of other shards to make it happen. So I have the values here based on 5,000. It's 250 ancients or 42 voids or 10 sacreds to handle one of these events. It's pretty hefty price. And I think for the future, we just have to be aware that these are just the values that we're going to be facing in the future. Okay, so after Ice Golem, we got Dragon. Dragon's probably going to extend into the early next week. I expect training. Actually, I probably expect Dungeon Divers to start with Ice Golem and then training to take on to start after. Basically because the Hero's Path event ends on Monday, and the training event doesn't end until Tuesday. So I expect the diver event, maybe a diver event, to start as early as Thursday. So they give like a 2-day break and then divers start again. Maybe. That's kind of like my best guess. So IG starting with Dungeon Divers into Summon Rush into training. That's pretty good. And then it goes into Dragons. Dragons just a really good dungeon. Same with Ice Golem actually to have training with. So the first 5 days will be pretty good in terms of like double dipping, triple dipping, and all that stuff. And then we have Fire Knight probably somewhere in the middle of the week next week. And then we'll have either the Champion Chase that will count towards the fusion or not. And then Spider near the weekend into CVC. This one will likely be personal rewards. And then either the fusion ends on the last event will be the 17th. Could be a Dungeon Diver, artifact enhancement. I don't want to speculate too much on the divers and the training and the artifact enhancement events, because those could be anywhere they want. But we have to be aware that there could be a summon rush at the end of this week. Then I expect a little bit of a lull. There might be a bunch of events here for like end of summer shard events, probably some soulstone, both like those events. CVC, expect like 10x bait events. And then we'll probably get an announcement near the end of the month for the next fusion. We'll have Labor Day weekend, so nothing will happen. And then the new fusion will probably start the first week of September. And then the cycle will probably repeat again. So that's kind of like my best guess for the next month or so. I expect this fusion to be, maybe a little bit longer, 18 days. It kind of makes sense. Like I said, this is my best guess. Reasonably, it's August. People are on summer vacations. Just want to finish off the vacations and then start back strong on September. I think this is basically a general mindset for most companies, and it totally makes sense to me in terms of how the schedule is laid out. And as a last curveball from Plarium to end the month, I could definitely see a second summer rush. So to answer the question, how much do you guys need? You guys need a lot. Like if you guys start the fusion with 10 sacreds, you guys have 3 weeks to accumulate more to handle the second summon rush. If you guys don't start this summon rush with, I would say, at least a good 5 sacreds, at least get half of it done, and then finish the rest with miscellaneous shards, it's going to be tough because you're going to have a week to accumulate enough for the champ chase. If you guys can do that. If you guys can't, if you guys don't have it, and then let's say that we get the calendar and it's a skip here, then you guys have another week to come up with, I don't know, 5 to 10 sacreds for the last summon rush. We'll know the schedule on Thursday, so this is just a speculative video, but I think this is a pretty good guess at what it could be and what we could look out for. So hopefully it was interesting. Hopefully you guys can take something from it. And yeah, let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Like, do you guys think that this is even possible? Like, do you guys think these fusions are possible nowadays? Like, for me personally, it's not a big deal because I do, all these events. I farm the top end like all the content in the game, and I have a lot of shards I've saved up. So these are not a problem for me, but I can understand for like early mid game, like some of these fusions, they're not even worth thinking about because they're like impossible to do. Like first you have the shards, and then you have to deal with the silver like cost, and then you have to deal with all the energy and being progressed enough to actually do all the stuff. So I can definitely see, yeah, it's a big issue, and there's not enough freebies in the game to let people do all this stuff. So yeah, I feel for you guys, man. But anyways, yeah, I hope you guys liked the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.